Hi, what's up everyone? Welcome back to my video channel. In today, we continue to look at the Chopin Ballade Opus 52 in F minor, moving to the final section. That includes the recapitulation of the Theme 1, Theme 2, and the coda section. Well, there's gonna be a lot of things to do because it contains the most difficult part throughout reading the score and practicing. If you guys watched the video on the previous part, you probably know that I have explained the first section and the second section of the recapitulation theme 1. So I will begin on the third part of the theme 1. Alright, so this is the final part of the theme 1, which I have posted with another different picture right now. This is also the major difference in both rhythms and techniques compared to the first theme pattern that we've seen before. Firstly, in general, the left hand shortened the eighth note into 16 notes, and changed the accompaniment style into broken chords that go up all the time, as we can see on the score. Sometimes the left hand has three notes that copy it exactly from one octave lower to one octave higher. As we can see, there are several spots have this picture. And what's important about this one is that you should practice most of the time use 5-2-1 or 5-3-1 for three notes in one group. This will probably put some effort to practice because you have to stretch your left hand to make a span of 10th, 11th, or even 12th interval on the score. The right hand also expands the theme into nearly triplets all the time, and combined together we will get 8, 7, 6, or 10 in 3 beats. However, most of the expansion will use the neighbor tone chromatic scale as I've written down in the dark green circle and the blue circle. You can see there are lots of neighbor tones like the D flat and B natural, which supports the C, and also A natural, B flat, B natural, and C. These are called the chromatic notes, so be careful with the fingerings on their part. And I also list down the fingerings on the last measure, which is measure 155. We can define as three groups depending on the scale. First is 4-3-2-1 and 4-3-1 and 3-1 and 4 and in A flat. This is the good technique to practice when you divide it into several groups. The other part of this feature also been found in the later, like the measure 159. This measure contains a very long scale on the right hand, which you need to pay attention to the fingerings, as I've written down all the notes above. The following 5 measures also have a very great difficulty to read all the score and practice, so I have listed down a typical example for the fingerings above all the notes. You can take a screenshot or written down all the fingerings if you like. One suggestion for practice is on measures 162 to 163. The right hand has two types of the broken chords, which is being all diminished, but the first one is diminished 7 of A natural, and the second one is diminished 7 of E natural if we cancel all the neighbor tones. So the first 4 is in using one group, 1, 2, 3, 4, and change to 1 on the top F note. Then there's a difference between the second half measure as I written down in the red circle, which have repeated exactly 1 octave higher on the later measure. I also write down the arrows that going up and going down. This will make you easy to understand how to switch from 3 to 1 that required going up or going down. The left hand literally has the pedal notes with F holding all the time until the measure 164 going to the F4. Then there's another tricky part for the fingerings on the right hand, which I also written down below. We can see here on the measure 164 for the 5th and 6th beats, the right hand has A natural, B flat, B natural, C, D flat, and B flat, which required 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 for an easy way to achieve it because of the chromatic scale. The left hand corresponds with the right hand with the parallel sixths. So you can either do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2 for my suggestion, or use the original fingerings on the score. One of the most astounding moments is that on the measure 167 to 169, it shows a large chromatic scale after the dominant of B flat minor, but shortly turned into D flat major, which is connected to the next theme. Alright, so here's the second theme of the recapitulation part, which is in D flat major. The left hand changed into triplet 16, just look like little braids. The right hand has a very big change for the theme structure. In fact, it had only completed the first half of the theme compared to the first pattern that we have seen before on the first part of the theme 2. The second half phrase, as I've written down in circle 2, which is played the role of continuation for the theme part on measures 175 to 176. This is also the tricky part to do so because of the polyrhythm that 3 versus 2 on both hands. These two measures also have a small details, like the bottom notes of the right hand shows the basic function of 4 and dominant 7 in Roman numerals. And we can use the 4 notes in one group. This will make the fingerings more easily to do with 5-2-3-1 or 5-2-4-1. Also to keep in mind that the left hand should have a switch for 5-3-2-1 onto 5-4-2-1 as I've written down in every purple circles on measures 173 and 172. Then the theme repeats one more time with one octave higher on the right hand. Be careful with the end beat of the measure 179. There is F flat instead of the F natural on the left hand. Then it followed by a very long scale with the arpeggios on the left hand. So this is the typical example of the fingerings that you need to practice. After that, the second half of the theme uses the sequence again that occurs on the right hand and the left hand for every 2 measures. There is also a detail on the left hand with the top notes that I've written down in the pink rectangle, which are supported by the neighbor tones, like the E flat and C natural that I've written down in a red triangle. Also, there are some parts that the left hand fingerings will find difficult to practice. Remember, most of them will use 5-4-2-1 or 5-3-2-1 on the first 4, and then will go to 1-2-3 or 1-2-4. It overall goes through the G flat major to A flat major and back to G flat major again on the bottom line. Another thing you need to take note of is the rhythm. Although the left hand has 3 groups of triplets on the earlier part, the last line has changed to 2-16 on the first beat, then the rest of them will use triplets of 16 notes. So this rhythm should be careful. Another sequence is used on measures 187 to 189. This time it shows the temporary tonic of B flat minor with the first inversion of the tonic, and the same occurs on the D flat major. Throughout these measures, the left hand has the chromatic scale that I've written down a typical fingerings that you can practice with 5-2-1 and then 5-4-3-2-1 for this 5 notes chromatic. Measure 190 is another thing that I want to point out because of the difficult section of the arpeggio that is running back and forth, so use the correct fingerings is a good idea to practice. After the resolution to the D flat major, the both hands start running back and forth for 4 measures, which is typical reference to the Ocean Etude, Opus 25, number 12 in C minor. So the purple circles are the things that are written down in group that you should switch both hands from 1 to 5 or 5 to 1. The pink circle shows the inner voices that go through A flat, A natural, B flat, and B natural, showing the chromatic progression. Therefore, it is a good idea to pay attention to these notes with the dynamic support all the way to the dominant 6/4 chords. But it doesn't stop there. The following has the arpeggios with F, A flat, B natural, and C that go all the way for 5 octaves. This is a typical practice of the arpeggio. The next part has several chords and octaves with staccato expression, articulations. In this part, you will probably have another hard time to find and read on the score because of so many accidentals. In this way, the grouping will become the best solutions to make the things easier and effectively. First, if we look at the measure 196, there are 6 notes that go through D flat, C flat, B flat, C natural, B flat, and A flat, which copy the same 6 notes into the next measure, 198, that goes one octave lower. The next is the most sophisticated part to read on the score. This can be divided into 4 notes per group, which shows the tonal resolution to B major on the first one, and the F sharp major resolution on the second one, and the third one is only contained one note A, but suddenly reinterrupted and back to the normal F minor progression on the following 3 notes to measure 201. Then they follow with the strongest dynamic triple forte and end with C major chord. The next 8 measures are the fantasy moment, probably because of the after scene of triple forte that suddenly turned into pianissimo, which gives a very fantasy feeling. Alright, we are finally moving to the end section, which is the coda of the Chopin Ballade. This is the most difficult part for learn and practice. Let me show you why. First off, if we see there is a polyphonic function of the right hand and left hand. The left hand usually have the very wide notes that usually take care of the fingerings. Also, there's a one spot for the highlight areas for polyrhythm section, which should be taken note of. The right hand, however, have the most difficult part that you should learn to practice. For example, I grouped the 4 notes for the F, D flat, B flat, and C, G. These 4 are considered 1, 4, 2, 3, 5, or 1, 3, 2, 1, 5 in these fingerings. That should be the one group. Because of the hand span problems, I also read down the arrow shows that how the wrist will going to do. Although this part was very sophisticated to learn, it only contained 2 parts of the harmony. One is the tonal, which is F minor, and the second one is the relative dominant of the diminished 7. One thing that I will mention is the measures 213 to 214. This used 1 octave higher for all the notes applied. The following 2 measures has the chromatic third that require demanding technique to connect all together. From one of the measure being repeated with chromatic sequence on measure 216, and go to the diatonic third on the second half of the measure, which are written in blue circle. While the first 3 red circles shows the chromatic thirds. These measures are also a good reference with the thirds etude, opus 25, number 6, in G sharp minor. This part overall is very challenging for practice. While the left hand shows many of diminished fifths, augmented fourths, all of them are dissonant in sound. So this will give us very anxious feeling when combined with the chromatic third on the right hand. The pink circle shows on the third line is going to be the chromatic passing tones that support the resolution to the F minor tonic. Then following to the measure 217, this requires the right hand thumb to hold for 2 16 notes, while the upper notes goes through 5 and lifted with 4 2. This is literally demanding technique. The same thing happened on the start beat of the measure 218, which should also hold the top notes to play the rest of them, which is being 5, 4 2 1, and hold 1 is 5 4 2 1. This is a typical solution to play on this part. So these are the parts that you will find yourself very struggling with. Another sequence-like structure can be found on measures 221 to 222. It has the chord of B flat minor and F minor in every 3 eighth notes lengths. The left hand is the difficult part of practicing, as you need smooth fingerings to connect and build up the dynamics all the way to the forte, as we can see throughout the score. Alright, we are moving to the final section of the coda, which is located on measures 223 to 239. There are also 4 measures that the B flat minor and F minor connection are always persistent, which shows the diminished 7 broken chords, but with very complex in the voice part. So this also will be one of the trickiest parts for fingerings to learn. In this case, let's take a look at these measures. It shows the chromatic passing tones to the broken chords, which need 4 1, 5 2, and hold the 5 to the next 16 note with the 3. Other example of the fingerings is frequently jump on the thumb at the bottom voice 1 2 1 1 1 2 1 1 2 1. This is a great challenge for connecting the broken chords on the right hand. There are actually 2 different types of this complex part, as we can see on the blue and red circle that repeats 1 octave higher and 1 octave higher, that during 3 octaves. Then on measure 226, it has one octave higher of all notes from left hand and right hand. And finally end the piece with F minor with F, A flat, C, E, which is major, minor, minor major 7th chord. Measures 227 to 230 is another part that you need to take note of for the fingerings on the right hand, as I listed one example above all the notes. Then there is a brilliant ending with the scales and the left hand with F, A flat, C, and running through C and D flat, C and D flat all the time, and even goes to the end from the arpeggios from both hands running down to the octave F. Alright, so these are the things that I want to mention in the third episode for all the Chopin Ballade Opus 52 in F minor. Now let's take a look at the brief review for the conclusion. It was the hardest piece of all Ballade's works, especially during the second half. Compared to the other three coda sections, this one has a revolutionary creation because using the polyphonic and so demanding techniques. There are usually some great theme variation for demanding technique, group notes for convenient fingering style. This is the good way to practice, as you will find it very quickly and effectively to practice. Then, you should also find a similar type of melodies or accompaniment part, like the left hand, as we mentioned above in these three variations of the theme one. Then be careful some polyrhythm difficulty, especially on the recapitulation part of the theme 2 and the coda section. Then I write it down in the highlight area. And also it's good for you to use the harmonic analysis skills to find out what kind of the tone is, because there are so many kinds of the accidentals like the double flat, double sharp, or sharp natural flat, lots of accidentals. So this is the good way to learn. And finally, a quick reminder that on measures 58 to 75, there is a polyphonic on right hand melody. So try to read all the voice part and practicing the fingerings. It will should be the better way to learn. Now we are all set for this piece. Everyone give the thumbs up, like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'm looking forward to more my videos. Take care everyone. Goodbye.